The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived, if everyone would please rise and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I hear the echo of the former president's voice in my ear saying that I should tell everyone to please either turn off their phones or turn them on silent. Callie, could we have the roll call?
John Hedges.
Here.
Gary Kepley. Cheryl Armstrong. Here. Heidi Larson.
Here.
Ashley Overton. Here. Erica Weaver. Here. Dale Ryder.
Here. Reception of visitors, agenda item 2.1, 2.1A, spring sports recognition.
So I believe that Mr. Pugh may be here to recognize the middle school athletic sports.
Yes, sir. We got him right here. Wildcats, come on in. So this is most of the state qualifiers. Okay, we do have a couple out. It's summertime. We know how that goes, right? So what I would like to announce, those that qualified and participated in state and represented Mattoon Middle School: Natalie Forsythe, Amy Middleton, Anthony Stratton, Brody Kingman, Ryan Hudson, and Tyler Hagley. Mitchell Platt placed second in discus at state. He couldn't be here. But our buddy Jackson Morgan placed fourth in the high jump at state. Above all, our student athletes represented our schools and our community very well during this trip and came home with some hardware. That never hurts us. All right. Thank you.
So,
Congratulations.
excuse me, to help Mr. Duckett, can I hear the events for the other
Oh, yeah.
contestants?
Go ahead, Natalie.
Hurdles. 100, 200, and long jump.
Nice.
4x1.
4x1.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Nate's got his hair fixed. Okay, ready, guys? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good job, thanks, guys.
Mr. Duckett. All right. So we have a couple of different groups to recognize for both winter. Chess gets over kind of in the early spring, so we're going to welcome up our chess team first. Our chess team is a state qualifying chess team. Coach Gibson, I'm going to have you give us a rundown on how the season went, and then talk about your guys.
Hold that for me then.
Okay.
It's a Google Meet.
Google Meet.
Oh, yeah, technology, right? So the chess team qualified for state this year. To go to state, you have to win at least 2 sectionals, and they did that. And so, in this order, I have Reese Bach, Gavin Masry, Xander Osborne, Keenan Kirsch, Vaughn Prince, one of our coaches, Mark Stieber. We also have Renee Beltran, Samuel Gonzalez, Connor Weber, Josh Boley. Who am I forgetting? Because I didn't go to Lincoln Wheeler, because I didn't go in any particular order. So they did really well. The team didn't do that well, but we had some really good results. We had 2 of our players went 3 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. We had a player go 4-3. We had a player go 5-2. And then Gavin Masry here went 6-1 at 6-4 and received a silver medal from the Illinois Chess Coaches Association.
If you have never been to a chess, state chess meet, it was awesome. We got to see what it is. Something called a Skittles room, okay? It's not about candy. right? So there's this giant room where all the kids from all across the state, I'm talking like a convention center space, that they're all in there, they're practicing, they're moving. There's guys that got video games set up at their tables, and they're killing time in between their matches. And then you go upstairs to the big room, same size room, where all the boards are spread out, and it's silent in there. You can't talk, there's no pictures, everybody's creeping around. Coach Gibson and I were walking around, we're like, and I'm thinking, I don't know anything about chess. I'm like, ooh, was that a good move? But it was fun to get to see them. And next year, we are hosting the chess sectionals at Mattoon High School. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to get to do that next year. So thank you, chess team. Good luck next year as you build on your success from this year. So thanks for coming. Yeah, you guys.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys.
Another cool fact about our chess team, our #1 chess player is also a cheerleader. Got to be one of the only cheerleader/chess players in the state. Very proud of her.
She's on the go meet.
She's on the go meet there. Good job, Renee. Renee's a 3-sport athlete for us, so she does a great job for us with that. Thank you, chess fellows. Thank you. And Renee. Next group, let's bring in the girls soccer team. Go on, girls soccer. We'll also invite Coach Gear up with us. Coach, come on up. So I will let Coach Gear talk about his very impressive girls soccer team from this year.
We had a great season, 23-3-1, best record the girls soccer team's ever had since we've had a team since 2001, so the most wins we've ever had. We started off the year as St. Teresa Tournament champions for the second year in a row. We were conference champions, first time we've ever won the Apollo, first time anybody's ever beaten Muhammad since they joined the Apollo Conference. We beat them twice. So conference champions, and then we finished at home and won a regional championship against Bethalto. So had a great season, had 7 girls on the all-conference team out of 22 spots. We had 2 girls that were all-state. Lily Gregory was all-state. And Lily Gear was all-state for the 3rd year in a row. And she was also the first player we've ever had from Mattoon selected, boys or girls, to be on the all-Midwest team, one of 8 girls in Illinois. And it looks like we have 3 seniors up here. If seniors can introduce themselves and tell where you're going to school and what you plan on doing.
I'm Lily Gear, and I'm going to Lakeland for early childhood, and I want to be a kindergarten teacher.
Gabby Ray, I'm going to Lakeland as well, and I'm doing business.
I'm Taylor Kovac. I'm going to University of Illinois, and I'm majoring in health sciences.
And we'll let the other girls talk when they win regional and college.
Okay, can I have some of you guys crunching?
Oh, we've had so many of these tables this year.
Okay, ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you haven't turned in your uniform bring to my house.
Before you do your other job now, I guess. We also want to, again, take the opportunity to thank Ryan here for his time. Many years of just building this program and building what it is. So Ryan, 25
boys seasons and 23 girls seasons.
So we are very thankful for all that he did with the soccer program, with our other sports as well at Mattoon High School. Thankful for his time and effort. And we're sorry to lose him to that chair over there somewhere. But thank you so much for all that you did for Mattoon High School and the Green Light. Thank you, sir. track participants at the state finals who couldn't be with us tonight. Let's see. So we had first off Elijah Mosley. He was the conference champion in the high jump. Also qualified to be a state high jumper, and very proud of him and his accomplishments as a senior at Mattoon High School. So we're very thankful for his efforts and his efforts, showing off for the Greenway. Also on the girls' side, we had Emily Maple, who qualified in state for the 800-meter run. Again, fun to go over there and watch that. It's fun to go over there and listen to Dale Ryder call those races. It's a different atmosphere. It's like being at a horse race, or they're up there, they're calling them down the stretch they come. But it is very cool. If you haven't been over to Eastern, it's right here. It's in our backyard. Get over to the state track meet and get the opportunity to cheer on our athletes, and we hope to continue to build that and send more and more over there. But it's just cool to be there and see those kids involved in such a great sport. So those two were our, and then Tegan Sewell was Apollo champ in the shot put as well. So very happy to have those three representing the Greenway. And I believe the others that I had would have been my tennis boys. So we had 3 tennis boys. Do I have any of my tennis boys here with me? I don't know that they could make either, Coach Poirier said. So we had Dalton Short, Ty Easton, and Will Pullen qualified for the state finals in tennis. So Dalton Short was a single, played singles, and then Ty Easton and Will Pullen both were the doubles team that qualified for state. Ty Easton is moving on to Kaskaskia College to continue his tennis career there, so we're very excited for him. And then Will and Dalton are both sophomores, so we are looking to have some success on the tennis court here for the next couple of years. So very excited about that. Okay? So that's what I've got. We're already moving and rolling here as summer's rolling. High school's packed. All the fields are jammed. We're getting ready for next fall. We can't wait for it. So come out and support the Greenway. We love it.
Item 2.2, non-agenda visitors. I have 2 names here. Leah Northam.
Yes. Before my time starts, may I stay seated?
Me what?
Stay seated.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Whatever you need. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to run through this quickly to try to stay within the 3 minutes, so I'll be happy to repeat my questions at the end if needed. On the Illinois report card, for students from the class of 2020 attending community colleges, 25% took remedial courses. Since that is from 2020 and we are getting reports from Lakeland every year, is that number improving or getting worse? Does the board get yearly reports on these numbers and the strategies used to improve them? I have a question about the vote today on counting the Lakeland speech course towards high school English credit. Considering both the college remedial numbers and the SAT ELA numbers, I have concerns about college-bound students taking one less English course. Traditionally, a college-bound student would take 4 high school English classes and then comp 1 and 2 in speech at the college level. Already, students can fulfill one of their high school English credits with comp 1 through dual enrollment. If speech at the college level is allowed to fulfill a high school English credit, now students could take only 2 years of high school English, comp 1 in speech while in high school. So now instead of taking 4 years of high school English and 3 semesters of college English, it would be possible to take only 2 years of high school English and 3 semesters of college English. From what I understand of speech, it consists of preparing for and delivering approximately 4 to 5 speeches. If it replaces a year of English, that's 1 less year of novels and discussion, papers, grammar, and vocabulary. I do agree that college level work during high school should count for high school credit. I just question the merits of this course replacing a year of high school English. I understand the benefit to the student as far as getting a college course finished sooner, but what is the educational benefit of having 1 less year of English? It seems that more English, not less, is what we should be encouraging. Lastly, having no background information, it was confusing last month to see Dr. Till being hired on the personnel report. I assume the board knew of her upcoming resignation and job change, but the community did not. I know from discussion in the community that there is concern and that we just wish to be assured that the board did its due diligence in following its policies on conflicts of interest and demonstrating integrity and honesty. In light of that, could the board walk us through the timeline of knowing of Dr. Hill's job change and the vote last month to accept the Leader in Me contract? According to Board Policy 5-120, a conflict of interest arises when an employee or any of the following individuals has a financial or other interest in or a tangible benefit from the entity selected for the contract. If the board did not find a conflict of interest, can you please explain collectively or individually how or why this policy does not apply? And will this be considered a conflict of interest going forward? Thank you.
I'll be happy to address the issue of what the board knew and didn't know about, if you'd like. I can't, the first issue you talked about with regards to curriculum, I'm gonna have to pass that on to someone who's a professional educator for a
Right.
living. But, so in response to your question, in April, all of the board members who sit here today, with the exception of Cheryl Armstrong, who had not yet been seated, were apprised of what was going to be a proposal for a contract to change Dr. Hill's title and have her work the equivalent of 40% and then 60% for a company called Franklin Covey. And that conversation with board members, which consisted of a presentation by Dr. Hill, a presentation by the superintendent, and then questions and answers from most, but not all, board members who were present. And so, including the issue of specifically what would Dr. Hill's duties be after, if this new contract was adopted, what would be left over that she's doing now, that the role that we would need to fill, issues of conflict of interest, issues of compensation and benefits. I mean, just about everything that you could talk about in this context was discussed amongst all the board members, again, except for Cheryl Armstrong, who had not yet been seated, in April. The board members then had 29 days between the April meeting and the May meeting to ask whatever questions they wanted, do whatever fact-finding that they wanted to engage in. 5 days before the May meeting, the board members received the actual proposed contract, which I guess gave more opportunity, right? If there was a question that wasn't answered at the April meeting, but that could be answered by the exact words of the contract, board members had those 5 days before the May meeting. But having taken part in the conversation in April and having read the contract, there wasn't anything in the contract that I didn't fully expect to be in the contract because of the April discussion. So then in May, there was another conversation, albeit it was a shorter conversation amongst the board, talking about this issue. Actually, most of the questions asked, to her credit, were by the new board member who had not been there in April, Cheryl Armstrong, about the parameters of the contract and again, what Dr. Hill's new duties would be, what would the district need to do to fill the duties that she was leaving behind by only being here 2 days a week, although I think it would be more than 2 days a week. And then, and the issue of conflict of interest was directly addressed in both the April and May conversations. And the board fully complied with its obligation to go nowhere near the legal definition of a conflict of interest in adopting the contract. In the end, the contract was adopted by a vote of 6-1. Does that answer your question?
Could you explain publicly?
I'm sorry, I'm sure you'll have your opportunity. I need to ask the constituent.
It does, but all of those discussions were executive session,
Correct,
correct?
correct.
So possibly some of these very specific conflict of interest points in policy 5120, you could address and say why you didn't think that that met the definition of conflict of interest, just so the community could understand why it doesn't meet that definition?
Because a person is working for a company that also has a contractual relationship with the district, does not equal a conflict of interest, at least not the legal definition of a conflict of interest. Maybe there's some confusion about that.
Okay, no, I just
Okay.
from this statement that I read and some of the others, it just seems like now whether that meets the actual legal or not, I don't know. So, okay, thank you. If I come up with further, then maybe you can explain it in a little more detail to me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
So, Daniel, just for example's sake, if we have a contract with Leader in Me and she oversees curriculum, this is the questions I'm getting that I cannot answer. So if she oversees curriculum, we spend last month $600,000 in Leader in Me. Will the person overseeing curriculum then be signing off on the contract for curriculum like Leader in Me? I mean, is that a conflict of interest?
I'd be happy.
It would be, but do you want to address this?
I didn't sign that contract. I guess it maybe would be helpful if you can just help me understand what specifically, what you think or what the conflict, what you're looking for, I guess. Because I'd be happy to answer anything. We've talked on the phone before. I could have answered anything at any time. So I didn't sign this contract. It goes through the business office. So, and I stand to gain nothing personally from our relationship with Franklin Covey, other than my kids go to school here and it's good for them. But I would be happy if you could just help me understand, like, what specific concern about a conflict exists.
So the confusion, I think, Christy, is that the Leader in Me is a curriculum program.
Right.
Correct? Okay, so you're gonna oversee curriculum.
Right.
Okay, so the other 60% of your job is going to be with that company who we have a contract with.
Okay.
So that's where things are confusing, right?
So help me understand the conflict, I guess, because I'm sorry that you think this is funny. It hasn't been funny. It isn't funny. I want to understand.
I'm just saying that if we are purchasing a product from the company.
Because I don't gain anything personally from that contract.
Curriculum, right? The Franklin Covey wrote the curriculum for what we're using, right? She's not writing that.
I think it also
Other
should be
school
stated, just maybe this would help too. Our legal counsel, and we talked about this in the meeting whenever that question was
Indeed, we
asked.
did.
Our legal counsel, before we even went down this path, fully vetted everything, made recommendations, and they've given additional recommendations since these questions have come up, which I haven't been asked any questions since the conversations happened. I mean, so they were the ones who made specific recommendations for what was included in that contract, and gave the green light to Mr. Condren and the contract that was presented to the board. So I guess if I can understand beyond like overseeing curriculum, the conflict would have to benefit me directly. And I don't see that there, but maybe I'm not seeing something that you're suggesting.
So the issue of the conflict of interest, that issue, you asked that issue, okay? Cheryl asked that issue, about that issue. At least one other board member did as well. And the information that's being provided right now is the information that was provided in that meeting.
But it was never provided to the public. And that's one of the issues.
Okay, but why are you confused?
I'm confused because I can't answer the question. I still
Oh.
see that if you have a curriculum that we purchase, and the person overseeing our curriculum is also working for that same company, if there is a clear separation between what her role is.
She just told you she didn't sign a contract.
Okay.
Okay.
I actually am not the one implementing that curriculum. We have coaches, principals, teachers all implementing that. There are several programs that, as you know, there are several programs that fall underneath that department. I work for the State Board of Education as an assessment reviewer. We take their assessments. I think that there are lots of instances where you don't personally benefit from that work, but you're involved in that as a way to provide enhanced services for the district. So specifically, I won't be in charge of that contract.
I mean, I think that's helpful, right?
Yeah.
be transparent about how it is not a conflict for the public, because our executive session, none of that was discussed with anybody in the public. So of course they're gonna have questions, and it would be really hard to come to you and ask that question, right?
Oh,
So
gosh,
they're going
I,
to ask other people, and so I'm thinking, I'm not sure. Okay, I didn't know you didn't sign the contract. That was never explicitly clear. And so that's helpful to know. And I think it's just intuitive that it's a question that people are going to have.
right, and I
Discussion.
think it's fine. I appreciate and welcome, I think we all do those questions. And the sooner I have the opportunity to answer those directly, the sooner it clears it all up, and then we can move on to the other things that you guys have questions about and the work that we're doing. So I'm glad that clears it up. And if there are other things, I feel like now is the time, because this is, like you said, there would be no confusion after if there's other questions that we want to answer.
Do you have a question?
Can I ask a question?
Well,
When can a member of the public ask?
why don't you go ahead and ask?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, and I hope, before you do, okay, we want to have open discussion, but we also need an orderly meeting. There are people here who came to
What do you
hear.
expect I'm going to do, Dale?
Relax. There are people, there are people here who came to hear about stuff other than this issue.
I just was gonna ask
I
you a
want to be
question.
respectful.
I want to ask it.
No, go ahead.
Are you sure, Dale?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Just a dumb question, Christie, because I don't know. So it's a contract, you said? I don't know any of this, right? So is it for a certain period of time?
So are you talking about my contract or the
The
contract?
contract with the materials that we get?
Okay, great question. So the district signs contracts with many, many curricular vendors. So like we do math testing, that's a contract. Lexia is a contract. Franklin Covey is a contract. And in those contracts, it outlines what services and materials the company is going to provide to the district and how much that's going to cost. So that is what is outlined in whether it's
So is it like the
Contract with
beginning
McGraw.
and to the?
yep,
Okay, that was my first question, because I didn't know. And then the other part was, so are there other companies that do the same thing that they do? That we might, as a school, look at to say, hey, we want to buy their materials?
you know what, there are lots of different companies that do parts of what they do.
Okay, that's, if there is, then is there like a market for it? So I'm just asking, so it would be hard to look at somebody else,
Sorry. Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. I don't know much
So
about
your
it.
question is like, if I'm in this position and we want to look at
Right.
someone else, would we still look at someone else?
Exactly.
Fair question. And the answer to that is we use every 5 years, we do a full curriculum review of a subject area. So next year's science. During that time, we have a committee. We went through that last year. You guys might remember. We have a committee who all comes together and they talk about what the standards are, what the resources are, what our results are. Are we happy with how things are going? Are we not? Do we want to make a change? If so, what are we going to be looking for? We typically have 3 to 5 vendors come and present, and then that team of people makes a recommendation that goes to the CCC, and then the CCC says yes or no, go do more work, or yes, we'll take this forward, and then the board acts upon it.
Good.
Yeah.
That was pretty relaxed and respectful.
Apologize, didn't mean to de-escalate
No problem.
you. Leah, I want to come back to you for a second. We don't, about the discussion of personnel matters in public,
Yes.
public bodies have to be very, very careful about that.
I understand.
You know that. Employees have legal
Yes.
rights to which, if something is said in public that is misconstrued or is inaccurate, they will avail themselves of those legal rights. That's why the law allows us to go into those closed sessions. I mean, every month, any person who's on this board, who's been on this board for a year, has probably voted to make 200 or so certified appointment hires, just like this one, with Dr. Hill, with no public notice whatsoever. And it's because we don't, first of all, you can imagine having a conversation about 20 every single month. All we do is have board meetings, but we do that because of the legal rights that employees have.
I guess I just think, and I appreciate the conversation that has happened here today, and I think that is exactly what needed. I mean, if you weren't aware, the town has been abuzz talking about this for a month, and if this could have happened maybe at the end of last session, or somebody could have put a statement out with more detail, then it would have been a better situation. I think it could have been anticipated that people were going to be concerned about a conflict of interest. I mean, if the lawyers were consulted, I just think it could have been anticipated, and then it could have been taken care of.
Thank you. Angela Hampton.
Hi, good evening. I'm Angela Hampton. I have 3 students in the district, and I really appreciate Ashley and Dale taking the time to respond to my questions regarding the social emotional learning curriculum that we've discussed a few times over the last several months. And my goal really is to just make sure that everybody is in the loop with the kind of the reality of the parent experience, because I think there are some gaps there. As you noted in your email, there is no parent access to this curriculum due to copyright laws. And I know you think and feel that that's acceptable, and since I only have 3 minutes, we'll have to agree to disagree on that. But also, one of the emails stated that there's an opt-out in place, and there's not. I had to create my own. I also understand you think it's sufficient that a parent would have to set up an appointment to go review the curriculum in the school office. I don't, but even when I inquired about that opportunity, that process was not in place. So one of the things Dale pointed out is that having conversations with teachers regarding what's being taught is often the best approach. I agree, and as you can imagine, I do that pretty regularly. But if we're not aware of what's being taught because it's not disclosed, then that becomes impossible. And we're not just talking about the SEL material. My 7th grader came home a couple months ago and informed me that her class was going to be reading a Colleen Hoover novel. Hoover writes books like It Ends With Us and November 9th, which frankly contains straight up pornographic material that's definitely not written for young people. The name caught my attention, and it caught her attention. Amazon describes it as an adult romance novel about a couple who maintains a casual summer fling. And the trigger warnings include death by drug overdose, sexual assault, and harassment, including that of a minor. My 7th grade daughter recognized that it wasn't an appropriate choice, so she came to me. We asked for an alternative. The alternatives that were offered were Monster, about a 16-year-old who's on trial for murder, Abduction, about 2 children who are kidnapped, Stolen Children, about a teenager and the girl she's babysitting who are kidnapped, and Harry Potter, which she's already read and did not enjoy. Whenever possible, I make an effort to read the books that are assigned to my girls so we can discuss them, but no information about these books was posted or disclosed. And in fact, even leadership in the school isn't aware of what's being read in every class. And this is not the first time I've encountered this issue in our district. We can't be engaged if we're not given the information and if it's routinely withheld. Last month, I was informed again by my own daughter that the Mobile Museum of Tolerance would be at the middle school. Parents were not notified or given a permission slip. I actually requested that she be allowed to stay in class and focus on her work, but because she was afraid of being judged unfavorably by her teachers, she asked for permission to go on the bus and we allowed it. As we feared, the view of tolerance that was espoused was extremely one-sided, and she was subjected to biased videos that included inflammatory statements about so-called police brutality. As you can imagine, that was upsetting to the daughter of a police officer. I'm not the parent you have to tell to get involved with teachers. That should be pretty obvious. I'm here to tell you that the district is not communicating with us and perhaps not even with each other. So when we do attempt to communicate or share a concern, sometimes it feels like we're burdening the system. So I'm asking you, if you really want us to be involved, please readily inform us about all content and curriculum. We've established we're in agreement on that, and I've established for you tonight that it's not happening. So I'm asking that it's all shared in advance, and then an opt-out option is automatically offered for content or experiences, especially when they're potentially offensive or objectionable, so that every parent can make the right decision for their family.
Angela, can I ask a question?
Please.
And this is not to lay something on you or anything like that. Did you talk to your daughter's teacher about the books?
I did, yes.
Can you, I mean, you don't have to like give me a transcript of the
Sure.
conversation, but can you
I have the
generally
email.
share what the response was?
Sure, yeah. She emailed me back promptly, very nice person. And she said they were doing literature circles, and she knew that Colleen Hoover is all the rage, and she was aware that she has a reputation for books with adult content, and just didn't realize that it was too mature for my students. I apologize for upsetting you. There are other options. I had asked her for a book list and she said it was the last book of the year. And that's when she gave me the 4 alternatives that I mentioned.
Thank you for going to the teacher. I appreciate it.
So is there a book list, Nate, at the school that middle school parents get?
There's others were on there. And actually the one novel that was brought to my attention was completely removed.
And how does a teacher, how does a parent, find that?
That
The
list?
book list, yeah.
Oh, I believe it's all, the district has a list of all
We
books.
do, that's not on the list.
So it's
Yeah,
on the
book list
website.
is difficult to find. She wasn't aware of where I could find it, so I did not find that. So I think maybe it was different because it was literary circles, I don't know, and sometimes, obviously her efforts were well intended. That's not my issue at all. My issue is not with the teacher. She's a lovely teacher. My issue is with the content and not being made aware ahead of time what the options are. And I know we want them to have an interest in reading. I'm a journalist, I'm all about it, and I want them to read things they're interested in. Sometimes 7th graders are interested in things that maybe they're not quite ready for yet. So, yeah.
Were you aware of the book lists, Mr. Pugh?
Yes, the book list I was aware of, and what it comes down to, that one novel, as soon as Miss Hampton called me, it was removed completely, not just for the one student. And then I ensured that the rest of the books were in line with what the 7th grade does straight off the list.
And again, Mr. Pugh has been phenomenal. We communicate a lot. My concern is that I've had this exact issue 3 times since my girls have been in school in this district. One time it was because my daughter came to me and was reading a book that had a graphic depiction of rape. She was uncomfortable with it. And the students in that class, that was a high school class, were supposed to have been given an alternative, and they were not. And the principal wasn't aware of that. I understand they can't be aware of every single thing happening in every classroom all the time. Certainly understand, which is why I'd like to have the checks and balances in place and enforced. Because had she not come to me and told me, she would have read the book and you can't unring the bell. And so it's hard as a parent. I'm doing my best to be vigilant and be involved with 3 teenage girls and their education, but it's difficult. And so, I wanted to bring specific examples of my concerns so that maybe we can tackle specific examples, and that might bring to light some other places where we have these gaps.
Yes, sure.
Where do parents find the reading lists? I mean, I can see somebody in the community asking me that. Where do parents find the acceptable, or, their options? Principals or, yeah. Or Christie, yeah, okay.
Principals, whoever. So on our district webpage, we have a curriculum page, and admittedly, it is content heavy, right? Katie and I have met several times to kind of
Under construction.
there's a lot in that department. So admittedly, it would be hard to find. Our goal from last year till now has been to find ways to make that more accessible, but our curriculum is more accessible now than it has ever been. We have every learning outcome in every subject area posted. So maybe it would be helpful if we could put in the minutes, maybe even like what that hyperlink is. And then as we make those updates, we'll just be transparent with where those things are.
I think that would give parents an opportunity to see, okay, these are the ones that my child can choose from, and I think that would be.
And I would say as a parent, would it be too difficult for the teacher to just give us that book list at the beginning of the year?
Right, yeah,
I
not
think
at all.
that might help everybody. If they could just print it out and send it
Syllabus.
home.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
And you, Christine, maybe you would be the best answer. Where's the opt-out? Like, is this?
So our opt-out is actually in board policy. So the specific things for opt-out are like evolutionary material dissection and sex ed. But there is also a part of board policy that says any other questionable material. So it's in board policy. We don't have at the school offices, they have a form, but I don't know, Tim, or if you know if there's one that's posted somewhere that's just.
No, and we've most recently gone through a process of implementing through the CCC for any discretionary material that was brought to the school building level that was questionable.
Yeah, so like the library collection development policy review. That part is listed on the curriculum webpage, but if you're asking about a specific subject in a class, which is what I'm hearing, or specific novel or content of study that is personally questionable but doesn't fall into dissection or sex ed, or I think it's pollution, but maybe that's not the third one. There is kind of just a generic form so that if it's just for this specific family, it's questionable, that's permissible in our policy as of, I think, 2021. It's a relatively new update.
And I've never had an issue when I go and request an accommodation or an opt-out. Just to be clear, that has never been an issue. Mr. Pugh has been fantastic. My issue is if I don't know what's there, I can't make that determination.
Yeah, understand.
Or if I don't know what, what's coming to school or whatever the case may be. So, yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that discussion.
I have a,
Sure.
you didn't answer Leah's first question about the English.
Oh, remedial subject areas?
Yeah,
I can email you all that or email the board all of that. It's gonna take me a while to dig in. So 2020, that data would be a COVID year data. So you want 2020, 2021, 2022, and we actually just got some raw data last week on our SAT scores, and we won't know remedial statistics until the subsequent year. So I actually probably could go to like 2022 is as far as I could go at this point, because it is measured by ninth grade on track and then students who are enrolled in remedial coursework as freshmen.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to get that for you.
And then the speech communications as a dual credit, is that taking the place of English?
Students would have the option to use that as an English credit, yes, and Leah and I talked about that. Yeah, it's a college class, so, and she shared her concerns, and those were noted. So it would be up to the student and his or her family to decide if that would be sufficient for their career and long-term goals, or if they would want them to take, yeah.
They could do both. They could do English 4 and speech.
Yeah, it's kind of like we have additional math classes that if you really you want to take as many math or as many science classes as possible, you can double up on that, or you can just do the standard progression. So it just offers another opportunity.
Brookfield, if you will. So with speech, college level speech, it's not just making a speech. It's not just getting a prompt and making a speech. There is a research and writing component to a college level speech course. So there is an English and writing piece that is a part of that.
Correct. It's the Lakeland syllabus for speech, for intro to speech communications. So their requirements are what our students have to meet in order to earn that credit.
Thank you.
And I did read the syllabus. I just don't necessarily agree. Maybe it would be, in my mind, a semester's worth of high school, but I just don't see the value in it taking a complete year of high school instruction away.
I think during the counselor, student, and parent conversations, those are things to all tease out. For some students, it might be the right option, and for maybe your child or someone else's child, it might not be. So I appreciate the input though.
Cheryl, good catch. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Item 3, consent agenda. 3.1, approval of minutes. 3.1A is approval of the regular board meeting minutes from May 9th, 2023. 3.1B, executive session minutes from May 9th, 2023. Item 3.2, financial, that's payment of bills. 3.2A, monthly financial reports by fund. 3.2B, the fiscal year 23 budget to actual report. 3.3, approval of the enrollment report. 3.4, approval of a resolution regarding corporate personal property replacement tax distribution for fiscal year 2024. Item 3.5, approval of the Freedom of Information Act report. Item 3.6, approval of Mattoon High School courses presented at May 9th, 2023 board meetings. 3.6A, dual credit revisions for Introduction to Psychology and Introduction to Speech Communications. And 3.6B, addition of dual credit emergency medical technician course. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Ashley Overton, second. second by John Hedges. Roll call.
Question.
Yes, sorry, discussion.
On item 3.1B, I have two corrections. After the motion was made to approve the personnel report, it says that I asked what the motion was for. I inquired and asked that it be repeated. And then later on that, where it was noted that the motion to remove it, it's in the notes or in the minutes, it says that I asked what that meant. I wanted to know what the intention was of the movement. So if we can make those corrections, please.
Can, if the board wishes to amend that in the minutes.
So I guess I would have the new motion that it be accepted as amended.
We need a vote to amend it on its face, right?
You need a motion and a second to amend it.
Okay, a motion to allow for amendment of the minutes on their face.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Callie, roll call, please.
Kepley, Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes. Tim, can you confirm the changes that were made?
Yeah, so basically Eric is requesting that instead of asked what the motion is for, she's inquired what the motion to be repeated. And then later on in the minutes, it's corrected to now reflect what the intention of the move to executive session was. Is that accurate?
Okay, given that, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Kepley, Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes. Agenda item 4, reports and recommendations of the business manager.
I'm going to need help because my girls touched the screen and blew it up so you can't see it. Their last
Are you
chance.
gonna try for your second standing ovation?
Yeah, their last chance, get me back. Thank you. All right, we got several today. All right, the first one, board action to approve property casualty, school board legal, workers' compensation, and other commercial policies for insurance. Diamond Brothers has sought out the best insurance coverage at a reasonable cost for our district for non-health related insurances. We are recommending that the district renew with Illinois County's Risk Management Trust, ICRMT, for the upcoming 23-24 school year. The total cost of this is $536,169 for the year, which is an increase of $73,762 from last year, which is a 16% increase. Everything is increasing a lot, everybody knows. Reasons for the increase: brand new bus fleet, added over $1 million in value to our fleet that we currently have, all brand new buses. Our building values in the district, the values of the building themselves are up 30 million with the appraisal that the insurance companies did for us. So just like your house, when it's worth more money, it costs more to insure your house. So it's the same thing. We own lots of buildings, lots of big buildings, so the value went up $30 million. The contents inside them, the insurance went up $2 million, not the insurance, but the coverage went $2 million. Increase in cyber rates, and everybody knows we want to stay on top of the cyber stuff. Look at some of the surrounding districts who've had issues with that. So we want to do that, and then we've had some workers' compensation claims in the last several years that have boosted this as well. ICRMT, the only right for governmental bodies in Illinois. They have risk management services online and in person. You know, they all online claim services, crisis management assistance if you need it, and they've done this since 1983. So this is who we've gone with the past couple years, and we want to continue this. So the administration recommends that the board renew with ICRMT for the 23-24 school year at the cost of $536,169.
Ryan, in your conversations with Diamond Brothers, they're a broker, so they shopped it around, and this is as good as we were going to do.
Yes, yeah, so Greg Smith and Diamond Brothers, they're kind of our agent to go out and seek the best bid possible, and seek the best bid that we can.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal of ICRMT for the 23-24 school year at a cost of $536,169.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Discussion.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Abstain.
Hedges,
Yes.
Kepley, and Ryder.
Yes. 4.2.
Okay, board action to solicit bids for Riddle Elementary School and Mattoon High School exterior, doesn't say pronounce, drive it, clean, repair, and paint. So we want to solicit bids to clean, repair, and paint the drive it at Riddle Elementary School and Mattoon High School. Drive it is the textured exterior located between the brick and the roof. I consider it like stucco on the side of your house. And if you walk through the buildings or along the buildings, you've seen that this definitely needs some work. And like the whole front of the north gym is pretty much all this material, and the whole surrounding of Riddle on the upper part between the roofs is, the brick is all this. So right now, we just want to go out and solicit bids and see what the costs are, and then we'll come back and talk about it after we solicit bids, if you approve it. So the administration recommends that the board give approval to solicit bids for drive it work camp. I'm sorry, this should say Riddle and MHS. Riddle and MHS. We'll come back to
We have a
Riddle.
motion to solicit bids.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Kelly?
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Kepley, Armstrong,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
And that is for Riddle and MHS, like I said. All right, board action to approve lease with Lyft by EFES. So we've been in communication with the EFES program to provide they provide vocational and career opportunities for students throughout our region. Laura Sullivan is their director. She's been interested in finding a different location for their office space. Lyft shares a similar purpose to EFES. The ability to work collaboratively among both programs will be mutually beneficial. We have 3 areas on the 3rd floor that we'd like to rent to them for $12 per square foot. We talked to a real estate agent, and they said that the rate for square footage right now is between $5 and $15, so $12 is what we settled on. 779 square feet for a total cost of $9,348 for the year. So the administration recommends that the board approve the lease with EFES.
We have a motion to approve the lease.
Motion.
Second? Yes. Roll call, Kelly.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Kepley, Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
All right. Chromebook lease. So 3 years ago, we started the one-to-one initiative. We started it earlier than we expected with COVID coming in so quick. We knew when we started this initiative that Chromebooks don't last more than 3 years, most of them. And if you've seen kids around Mattoon with them, it's amazing they lasted 3 years. So it's all kid riding a bike with one on his handlebars when they were watching TV. So the lease is for the first 3-year cycle has expired. We want to begin a new 3-year lease on July 1 with Provincial Capital. The first 2 years will be funded with ESSER 3 money that we have remaining. It's $279,076 per year. This will get us over 3,000 Chromebooks. And then the 3rd year, we'll have to work it into our budget to pay for the 3rd year. But for the first 2 years, we'll use ESSER's money as we try to use up the remaining of that in the next 14 months or so. So recommendation is that we approve the Chromebook lease.
Is there a motion to approve the Chromebook lease as stated?
Motion.
Motion by Erica Weaver, is there a second? Ashley Overton, is there discussion?
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Kepley, Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
All right, moving right along. Presentation of the Bear Ag Grant. So the district has received a $5,000 grant. There's no action to be taken on this, just information. The America's Farmer Grow Communities grant from Bear, and it was donated on behalf of Coles County farmer Ashley Overton. So we got the money from her, from her, I guess, from the company through her for the MMS greenhouse and the MHS greenhouse. So we'll divvy that money up, and they can buy some things to make the greenhouse better and give them better learning opportunities at the high school and middle school. So no action, just information. Any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ashley.
All right, another grant that we received, Molly Smith, who was our Airmark representative, she wrote this grant for us. She's complained for years about our box truck and the repairs that continually had to be made on our box truck, so she wrote a grant. And we were awarded this grant from Share Our Strengths No Hungry campaign. It's for $50,000 to be used for the purchase of a used box truck so that we can transport food from one building to the other. So great of her to do that, and we received it, so that should cover the majority of the cost of the used box truck. So we'll finish that up as soon as possible. So that's another grant. Great. All right, lift update. So we had a request for some lift information. So McLean and I have put together a different slideshow for that. All do I have to go over the financials? There. All right. So again, we had a request for some of this information, so I'll just go through the list of information I was asked to put out there. So revenue for this year, and this was as of June 1st. Okay, so I just took Skyward and took basically a snapshot in time on Skyward of that day. So tuition that we received this year was $67,000. Donations total for the year was $618,238. And our daycare, which only ran for half of the year, to get it up and ready to go, we brought in $60,539. So those were our three sources of revenue outside of what we typically get with our levy and our EBF and all the other things that finance our school district. But so those were things that were just solely for the lift. Operating expenses. So we just went through like what it takes to run a building with trash and water, natural gas, electrical. Hopefully this electrical will be down a whole lot next year because of the solar panels that are currently being ready to be installed next door. So hopefully this number will come way down, hopefully to zero. Communications is phone bill and things like that. And then we spent $20,677 on marketing, which maybe doesn't go with these other things, but threw it in there because the information was requested. Payroll. People are expensive. Salaries, $314,000 and then some. Stipends, $47,000. Paraprofessionals, these are the ladies who work every day with the little ones. They don't earn near what they deserve. Holding 4 babies at one time, $116,000 change. The administration and support staff, which is a custodian and secretary and administrators, $158,000. Again, these are as of June 1. And then their payroll benefits, IMRF, TRS, insurance, all the other things that go with those, $131,000. Okay. And then the classroom budgets, these are what they basically spend on each floor. Communications spent a little over $4,000. Child care floor spent $4,200. The IT program $4,200. HVAC and what's Max stand for?
Manufacturing.
Yes, they're building things, so their materials cost more. So $10,000 and $11,000 respectively. Leadership $1,700 and culinary arts $9,100. So those are the breakdowns of a lot of the expenses or most of the expenses that go with the building that was requested. Next.
Before you go to the next one, can I ask a quick question? And I don't know if you know this. In terms of, I know Mr. Gear mentioned that the electricity bill will probably decline once the panels are in. Are we also expecting that maybe the marketing budget will be lower since we really market it because it was just opening? We may not need to market in the same fashion going forward, given that the program and the Live Centers pretty much established by now?
Yeah, I don't know if it would go down. We're not necessarily satisfied where the numbers are right now. And we have room to grow, so, I don't know. That's a hard question to
That's fine.
answer. So.
Nope, that's fine. Thank you.
And I have a question about electricity too. Are we selling back to energy?
I can answer that.
Okay.
We will be receiving RECs, so we'll be getting payments back, incentive money back. So that bill will go down, and we expect to see some revenue from the electricity that we're generating.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What kind of marketing? I know I saw that.
Yeah, so it's everything from like some WCIA ads, we've done some direct email marketing through Cromwell, some geofencing, also things like items to give away at the different events that we're attending, pens, notebooks, shirts for students, just anything to market and brand lift. So when people see that, they see us and they know like they can come and see that. So those would be some examples of marketing expenses. Yeah. Awesome.
McLean, does that also include your program guides and folders, information?
Yeah, program guides, folders, really anything that helps tell the story of Lyft and gets our name out there for kids, especially to show them how to take them through high school. So.
Follow-up question on the marketing. When students enroll, is there a question asked about how they learned about the program?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to see that, because that's kind of a path to learn what's
It's
effective
on
and
their
what's not, right?
feedback survey too at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, it's mainly like their feedback survey, but as far as like a direct question on our application, it wouldn't be on that. So.
Like, how did you hear about Lyft?
Right.
That kind of thing. It's a good idea.
How did you learn about Lyft?
Yeah.
We added that to our application recently too.
Can I add just a little bit more maybe for some clarification? Like, buildings are allotted a certain level in their budget. So there's a building level budget that the principal and the business manager discuss well in advance. It's typically January or February before our administrative team starts to build out the next year's budget. So in this situation, the marketing comes from the building budget, whereas that marketing money may not necessarily be in the high school's budget or middle's budget. So, but there are exchanges, I guess, if you will, in that for other line items that are included in budget. So for example, there is a higher middle school, and they can probably attest to this, there's a higher middle school supplies and materials budget than what McLean requested for Lyft. So that's the reason that the marketing level is what you see there, $50,000. So just to offer some context around how principals advocate for certain, through discussions through our business office and then through our team. And then that is presented annually to the board in July with the tentative budget, and then September for the board's adoption of that budget.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, and to the credit of the marketing that you all have done, we then get free marketing when we have our lieutenant governor visit the Lyft Center, when we have our students in DC and in Springfield presenting on the Lyft Center. So they are then carrying the successes and the message and the benefits of the program and the marketing. So when I asked like if it would change, I was just asking if there was a projection based on it being new versus continuing on. But I think the efforts have been very successful because the program is getting lots of attention. And so I think it's fair to add that as well.
Attention's really great, but results are even better. And so I want to talk about some of those results, right? So we talk about that a lot in our building. Like we've got a really cool place, a lot of cool stuff that kids learn on, but it's all facade if we don't have the results that go along with it. And so here's some evidence of some really good news that's happening at Lyft. So enrollment is up virtually across the board, as you can see within our different pathways. So this kind of shows you the breakdown of enrollment per our different pathways. Leadership had the biggest jump in their Leadership Institute with 37 students enrolled as of Friday when I crushed the numbers. This is very, it's still moving, enrollment's still open, kids can still enroll. Down here below in the yellow, you see fall numbers of 22 compared to fall projections of 23. So again, we are really happy to see the growth and see also the enrollment by school as well. I'm going to show you some other stats, but you can see across the board We're seeing new schools sending students, and we're seeing additional students enrolled from some of our smallest schools across the board. So our outcomes from this year, I think I talked about it in November, maybe again in January this year, but as far as like a heart of service and challenging our kids to go into the world and like make a difference, like take what you're learning, take what you're doing, take the skills you have, but make the world a better place. 305, we count those down to the individual opportunities for service. So we had 110 students enrolled in the spring, 104 students enrolled in the fall, and we had 305 of different service projects completed Give Back. 260 certifications or credentials. So obviously that's students getting multiple industry certifications or credentials and ready to enter the workforce, ready to go to their next step with the skills and credentials that they need to work and see deployment. I'm going to tell you some success stories here in a moment on that. And then 137 examples of leadership in action. So that is not just being a classroom leader and turning the lights on kind of leadership. These are students that are going to our homeless shelter and giving presentations on the 7 habits and 4 disciplines of execution. These are student leaders that are heading to our middle school and helping with portfolios. These are students that are going out leading tours, that are giving presentations in Washington, D.C. At leadership conventions. So that's the kind of leadership we're talking about when we count those, and we're just really committed to making sure that every student has an opportunity to be a leader. So our projections right now, we have 188 total students enrolled and counting. Again, that was as of Friday, which puts our enrollment up 81% from fall. So we're like really excited about that. Again, not where we're going to stop. We're going to continue to grow. Great things are happening at Lift, but we're really happy to see that. And you can see down here at the bottom growth by sending schools. So, you can see the yellow where some schools were in 2022 in the fall, and where schools were in the fall of 2023. So I want to build a little bit more on to that in this next slide. So when we talk about our regional schools and schools that are outside of Mattoon that are sending students to Lift, we had 36 students enrolled regionally in the fall of 2022. As of Friday, we have 70 students enrolled for a 94% increase in regional students. Again, really happy about that. MHS enrollment, 67 in the fall of 2022, 118 enrolled for the fall of 2023. Right, we're really happy about that. So we had 6 regional schools that are sending students for the first time this fall. So this would be this year is going to be their first experiences with Lift. Arcola, we're really excited to welcome some students from Easy, our special ed co-op. Kansas, Oakland, Sullivan, and Windsor would be those schools. MHS enrollment versus regional, approximately 60-40. So majority of our students are attending Lift from Mattoon High School. Scholarships. So here in a second, we have some more to add to this number. So just beyond blessed with our partners that are making tuition possible for a lot of our students coming from sending schools. So not all sending schools pay for their students to attend. Sometimes the burden or the cost of that tuition to attend is on the student or the family. And so that's a barrier for students to be able to attend. And so thanks to great partnerships, we're going to be hearing about that in a second. We've been able to award over $33,000 in scholarships to 30 students from throughout our region. Those 30 are directly tied into that 188 that are going to be attending that would not be able to attend without those scholarships. So our partnerships have been incredible, and it just keeps getting better, right? Making opportunities for kids. The tuition cost for the 23-24 school year is going to remain at $2,000 per year. So $1,000 per semester, $2,000 a year to attend Lift. So behind the scenes, I just want to tell a few quick stories of success. So we talk about these certifications, these credentials, these experiences, these conversations, this exposure to regional businesses and industry opportunity for kids. Let's meet Nathan Stamps for a second. He's one of our manufacturing MAC students, manufacturing, architecture, construction. So we had a visit from Stevens Industries who came and spoke to the students, and he loved it, thought that was really cool, a manufacturing facility, and got hired. Nathan's awesome, really cool student, started working there, and he's like, hey, I really like this. And so there were some opportunities. Our partners from Avapco had said, hey, if you have any students, check this out, what we're doing here. So Nathan is in welding at MHS, and that connection through Avapco through Mr. Brown says, hey, maybe you should look into that. So he applied, interviewed, tested, is now a full-time employee as a welder. Fun fact, he had to have over 1,500 successful welds before they were going to let him on the floor. So really cool, also a testament to the great work happening at MHS and really the team effort there. Jace Hammond was one of our students from Martinsville. Jace is really cool. He used this, came in, he's in executive leadership. He's taken some leadership courses just this past semester. So he wasn't with us in the fall. He came with us in January. He approaches Miss Clausen and says, this is cool. I think I'm interested in real estate. So she's like, all right. Calls over to Century 21 and says, hey, how can we get a partnership so we can plug him in? We don't necessarily offer this course. He's doing his content, but he's really passionate about that. So we received an email last week from, I have it here today. I want to read you a little bit of it, from Margie Swenson about Jace. She says, it's been a pleasure getting to know Jace. He's a great young man. He's been job shadowing in our office. He's been going out on showings and listing appointments with some of our agents. Once Jace gets his broker's license as the managing broker, I will sponsor Jace's license. Once I sponsor his license, he'll work as an independent contractor for Century 21. So really cool. Jace is a solid dude. You'll probably be seeing him if you're going to be buying a house. So last student I want to highlight is Logan Blackburn. And Logan came to us. He was in Mr. Compton's HVAC, learning some heating and air conditioning first semester. Then he's like, hey, I want to build an electric car. If you were down on Friday night, me and Mr. Compton were cruising the electric car downtown for Friday night cruise. We're planning to do it in July too, right? So come down there, Mr. Compton will get free rides. No, I'm kidding, right? But he built the electric car. It's really cool. But he was one of those students that's like, man, I don't know. When we did our survey data on what are your plans after high school, I don't really know. So our job, we kind of task ourselves. We want to put a period where maybe there's a question mark where students aren't quite sure what to do. So our good partners at Hydro Gear, Doug Henninger, he says, hey, we need people and we need them really bad. We've got this industrial maintenance thing. We're going to create this apprenticeship. And do you have anybody? Yeah, we do. We have somebody. So Logan was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Went and met with him, interviewed, tested. He's going to be getting paid a really great wage, 40 hours a week, while going to school. So like wrap your mind around that for a second. He's going to be getting full-time pay and benefits, and they're sending him to Lakeland for his industrial maintenance certification. And he's going to get a raise when he comes back. So it just speaks to how the skills that the students are getting, like that's great, the industry connections, and how it's actually leading to regional workforce development. Like that's our mission. That's what we want to do. We want to make our region better. We want to make our schools better. We want to connect kids with opportunities that maybe had never even saw us, like Logan's example. Doug from Hydro Gear sent an email. He said, Hydro Gear is excited to have a partner in education like Lyft. We in industry have seen a huge gap in the region for some time regarding skilled labor and young people who are interested in working in a trade or in hands-on technical fields. The idea that now we have a regional education center that can provide candidates with real skills and training directly out of high school is very exciting. Further, we see the opportunity to be involved and influence the outcomes of both the program and the students. We are excited to see how the program continues to grow and prepare students with real-world training, certifications that can help them get a jump start on the career or exchange forward into higher education. So Hydro Gear is also one of those brave folks. They've got a lot of different avenues. We're going to have a communications intern working with them on their communications content development this fall as well. So incredible partners, Logan, these students, they're killing it. They're doing great stuff. Our facilitators. It's just been a really good year at Lyft. So that's my high-level overview. I'd like to offer time for questions that the board might have.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all your hard work, giving these kids a chance, ones that didn't ever think they'd have an opportunity like this. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's facilitators, they're doing it. I just need to tell the stories.
Thanks, everyone.
That's great.
Well done, not standing ovation work, but well done. You had on an earlier page that the fall to fall enrollment was up 81%, but you kind of intimated that we're not there yet, so what's the goal number? Is there a goal number?
Yeah, we'd like to be over 400. Yeah.
So what percent increase would that be?
Not for this.
In 3 to 5 years, we would like to be at max capacity at 400. If you're asking me to do, percentage increases, I had to Google all of that, so.
His goal, your goal for this year was 200,
200
right?
was
200
our
per
goal
fall.
for this year, yeah. And so enrollment's still open, it's a fluid number. I'm hopeful we can find 12 students, so anybody here, anybody watching online, anybody.
Got some scholarship money coming
Yeah.
up. I mean,
Yeah,
make it easy for you.
Send them my way. We really wanted to hit that number for 12 away. I think we can do it by August, so.
And I wanted to pass what that email said right here. I know for a fact there's a employer near here, I won't leave names out, but they're so desperate for people, they're bringing in people from other countries. And that creates quite a language barrier when they're coming to the police department asking for assistance. So I think it's great. I really do. I think that the opportunities exist and we're giving them those opportunities. Thank you.
A question, are any of the classes there that are offered at Lyft, are they capstone available or all of them are?
For MHS students,
Okay,
every course at Lyft is a.
okay, all right, great.
So they're, the high school, when we were building these courses, was like, we don't want any barriers.
Okay, but that's, I mean, they qualify, like if you're gonna be certified for different things, so, because my son is interested in some, but.
Good question.
189.
So board, yeah. Yeah, the board approved that last fall for that exact reason.
Well, I know that
Yeah.
like you guys were talking about you could submit a class for
Yeah.
capstone availability, but like.
They did all those in one fell swoop.
Everyone, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Oh, I will. Don't worry about that.
No questions?
We have some camps going on this summer at Lyft, right?
Yeah, great camps are going on this summer, so like launching rockets today, building things on 3D printers, childcare, students getting certified in Safe Sitter, computer coding and hardware boot camps, like really, really cool stuff. Again, open to the region, mostly Mattoon High School students, heavily middle school attended, but really fun.
And that vision there is to get lots of middle school kids in there and high school kids in there from around the region, so they get a little taste.
So you're in the middle of a business district, from where are the rockets being launched?
Heritage
We were
Park.
actually in the Heritage Park today. I can't say we.
You'll probably see some pictures soon.
I'm sure that's a safe.
It was fun.
Did we renew the insurance?
Yeah, right.
Tomorrow, okay.
It was windy out there today too.
They were quarter scale test engines, Dale.
Yeah, yeah.
Just wait till Thursday.
Thursday are the big ones.
They're not quarter scale.
All right, you'll stand up here for this one. So 4.8, acceptance of donation from Land of Lincoln Credit Union for Lyft scholarships.
Yeah, so Land of Lincoln has been a great partner from the onset and are awarding Lyft an additional scholarship. So last year, recall, they also awarded a $5,000 scholarship. So you saw the numbers, you saw the impact, 30 kids because of scholarships have been able to attend. We want that to continue to grow, so students don't have to worry about money to be able to attend Lyft. So I'll invite Heidi and her team up here, and if you have anything to say, maybe we can get a photo, it looks like.
Well, we definitely wanted to help the community and allow students to get the opportunity to be able to go to Lyft. And we know that Mattoon's community helps for students, but there's other communities around us that surrounding that don't have that opportunity. And schools may not have it, and then the families may not have it, so the kids aren't getting that opportunity. So it's very important to Land of Lincoln with education, and that's part of our mission is educating our communities. And so just being part of the LIFT program is very important to us. So we would like to, donate 5 more scholarships this year, so.
One, two, three. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all very much. We need a motion to approve the donation of $5,000 from the Lincoln Creek.
Motion. Second.
Roll call, Kelly, please.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Reier.
Yes.
One more. Acceptance of Cabot for LIFT scholarship, $6,000 donation for scholarships given by Cabot. So they just sent us their money, so they're not here.
Not here. Okay. Motion to approve the donation, John Hedges. Second. Erica, roll call, Kelly, please.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Reier.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Well done. Agenda item 5, reports and recommendations of the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. Dr. Scosi is not here. Filling in for him is his able assistant, Tim Hunt.
Yes. First of all, would like to give some credit to our principals, assistant principals, and Human Resources Office, Grace Baxter, Dave Scosi, for we are one class certified position away from being filled this school year, which is extremely impressive in the climate. So we are in need of a elementary special education teacher. So if you know of anyone, please send them to Dr. Scosi. But just to share this month's personnel report, we have 4 certified resignations. Tammy Foster from Franklin as a special ed teacher, Rebecca Gates, who is a Williams elementary school teacher, Andrea Orr, a Williams SEL coach, and Brooke Kinnaman, also a Williams first grade teacher. Certified appointments, we have Isabella Brady, who will be taking on the role at 8th grade ELA at the middle school. Gracie Dow as a 2nd grade teacher at Williams. Zachary Long as a substitute teacher, and Brianna McKay as a special education teacher at Gorilla. Certified appointments, one that many may know, Kim McQueen is moving into the agricultural teaching position at the middle school this upcoming school year. Jerry Payne is a MHS social science teacher effective next school year. Melissa Sheffer returning to teaching in 5th grade at Riddle. Tammy Tippett as a special education teacher at Franklin. And Susie Hutchinson, a retired math teacher, is going to substitute teach for us for next school year. We have some classified resignations. Debbie Davis is retiring at MHS as the athletic secretary effective August 15th, 2025, which probably pleases Mr. Duckett. He's got a
Couple more years, yeah, I need her.
work with her. Samantha Drake is also resigning from Franklin as a paraprofessional. Delaney Kimberlin and Barb Kurtz as a Riddle PE paraprofessional effective June 1st of 2024. Carrying on the classified resignations, Christy Randall, who's also a supervisor over at Williams. So then we have some classified appointments, as you see here, with some supervisors, some PE paraprofessionals, middle school athletic secretary, as well as a substitute. And then wrapping up with extracurricular assignments, we've filled some coaching positions at both the high school and at the middle school, but do still have some positions open. So if anyone's interested, please jump online and reach out to Human Resources. But we have Alex Carey as assistant varsity girls soccer coach, Dennis Cole as assistant varsity girls basketball coach, and Dalton Compton, former MHS graduate, as the assistant for varsity freshman boys coach for this upcoming school year. Jason Enyard as the MHS junior varsity golf coach, and Jacob Fryman, and I believe Phoenix Prinko as our head and assistant cross-country coaches for the upcoming school year, and Davis Johnson, again, another NHS grad, as the JV boys basketball coach for the upcoming school year. So we recommend that the board approve the personnel report as presented.
Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
Motion. Second.
Ashley Overton, motion, Erica Weaver, second. Any discussion?
Armstrong?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Hedges?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes. Item 6, reports and recommendations of the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. We got nothing?
Got nothing.
All right. Item 7, reports and recommendations of the superintendent. You're so exhausted by the personnel. All right. Item 8, reports and recommendations of other district personnel. Nothing? Okay. Item 9, unfinished business. Oh, board president, appointment of committee assignments. I am very pleased, all the board members, thank you for your responsiveness, have gotten back to me with their requests. I am working on a hand-drawn Excel sheet to try to make sure that everyone gets what they want, or we can do that. I will email each of the board members individually to make sure I understand that we're on the same page about what everyone's going to be doing, and then assuming we get that done, I'll send that to the superintendent, and those will be the appointments. Any questions?
Is it possible though to get a list of the committees and when they meet and where, in case we want to go?
That's a good question. Schedule?
Yes, I have all those dates. I think I'll resend.
Will you send that to me?
Sure
I
will.
don't
Yep.
know that I've seen that. It's probably somewhere. And then,
Yes, I will.
as soon as I will send that to everyone, the schedule with my understanding of what you want to do. And then based on the schedule, if you're like, okay, this won't work for me, then we'll figure something out. Fair enough?
Some of those dates won't be set until later, but, you know, like the school calendar one that we've been on before, so. But we'll get as much as we can together to share.
I think the only ones that aren't set yet are school safety meetings and calendar.
Okay.
And then my other question.
Yes.
Is it possible that we can give an update at the board meetings on our committees? Like, I don't know anything about other people who serve on committees each.
You mean the board members give an update?
Yeah, on the committee that they serve.
I think that is a fabulous idea. I think that is, if not, no other reason to learn how to run that board. But yes, I think that's a great
I'm not
idea.
using that board.
I didn't know, well, yeah, that's gonna be kind of sensitive. So, I think that's a great, I actually love that. Okay,
And then one other request, reminder that we have a person who has a committee and then you have an alternate. If the person who's on the committee is not gonna make it, is there a way that they can inform the alternate? Because that communication hasn't been.
and that's actually, that's been in my head that needs to be part of the process. I just haven't gotten to that point in the path, but you're absolutely right about that. Okay. Any other questions? Item 10, new business, 10.1, discussion of communication to parents.
All right, so Angela, you mentioned this earlier, and unbeknownst, I had asked that we put this on the agenda today to have an opportunity to communicate with parents when there are new curriculum within the school district. So we have a lot of steps that you go through, Christy, to make sure curriculum is approved. We have teachers that meet in meetings. But then we have curriculum that comes into the building that no one knows about. And with email today, I think it would be relatively easy for us to inform parents, whether it's a mobile museum, whether it's SAGIS, which I generally appreciate what they do, but we have these other sources coming in to provide education, and the people who are not informed are parents, and I think that's super important that we keep them in the loop. We do that for field trips, we do that for other information, and just wondering if that's something that we could discuss and closing the gap of the lack of communication.
I think a great place for that.
Please, go right ahead.
Is that academic systems team meeting to kind of develop what that process would look like. They work with the CCC and make recommendations to the CCC. So then that way a board voice could be, or two, I don't know how many people you're putting on those teams, but that would be an existing team that could help develop what that process looks like so that it's standardized in all of our buildings. That's just a suggestion.
And you run that team, right?
Yeah.
So can we make note that that's top of the list? in
I think
terms
that
of
would
agenda?
work, be a place to talk about what that process is.
What do you think?
Yeah, what's the timeline? I mean, I'm kind of thinking, like, can we get it in place for this fall so that
Yeah.
parents are upset, right? They want to know what's happening. And then when kids come home and ask questions, they don't even, they're like, yeah, the mobile museum, what's that? So parents are in the dark, don't know that it's even happening. And so I'm fine with putting it on whatever committee where it fits.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of like, how do we execute that to make sure that it can happen?
Right.
As quick as this fall.
Right. So to my knowledge, we shouldn't have anything this fall that's different. So the first meeting of that team is September. It's like right after Labor Day. So it wouldn't meet that request to use the team for that. That said, I don't anticipate anything happening in those first 3 weeks of school that's different than what we've done or what's published on the website, but that's up for board discussion.
How, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say exactly what you talked about earlier, like if parents if teachers can send out, these are the books that you choose from. I mean, because I think that's a great idea. I mean, I think that then parents are fully aware, this is what my kids.
A way we could go about that is after our orientations or open houses, incorporating that information into what teachers are sharing with families. And that's something we could do this summer as we're meeting with principals to kind of prepare what open houses and orientations look like. I know that's kind of more standard practice at the high school where it's more like a syllabus or this is what the course is gonna look like. But there's, our teachers at the elementary and middle levels are providing outlines of what they're gonna do. So we could just maybe talk a little bit more about what that should look like.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be something we could do this over the summer that would be ready for orientation or, because open house is also a little bit later.
I like the idea of standardizing. Maybe we can just ask principals, if it's not too much, from the school year starting, if there's anything outside of the norm that has not gone through CCC and the curriculum committee, then parents, we want to inform them.
Yeah. That's doable.
And an email seems like the easiest way to make sure that they're.
Is it teachers that are having these mobile things come in, or does it go through the principal? How does that
So
work?
the specific mobile museum, I believe Mrs. Minger went through a somewhat rigorous process to get,
They went, if I may.
Yeah.
They went to a professional development and the mobile museum is actually sponsored by the regional superintendents in the Illinois area. And also, this type of museum, this isn't the first time we've done anything like this. We've done one on the Holocaust as well. And so that happened prior. And this one was based on civil rights is what it came down to. And that was all the information as far as what Minger was given to Minger and also was brought to me and.
Yeah, and I believe that the curricular link there was the civil rights units that are already taught and approved at the middle school.
To be completely, fully transparent, I actually wanted to keep it open to the community, but we weren't able to due to the contract with the museum.
Now, in terms of communication, which I think is what we're getting at here, I'm not sure if a letter went home or if it could go home. I guess that's the thing, forward thinking, like that's something that if it's a special event, and I know that's something Mrs. Minger was excited about, proud of.
In my eyes, it was kind of like having a guest speaker.
Yeah.
So anytime you have a guest speaker in the building or anything of that nature.
So those logistics, specifics, like is it a guest speaker, is
Yeah,
it a
that's
blah, blah,
where it'll get
that's
you.
what we can work out, I think, and bring back and say, this is basically the process we're suggesting would be most appropriate. When it meets these criteria, then we should.
So
send.
it's not necessarily all planned out before the school year starts. Some things occur, just pop in.
That specific thing, like that's a
Yeah.
specific thing that she didn't know she was going to get.
This opportunity was presented, through, at a workshop.
Yeah, so they wouldn't know at the beginning of the year, like you were saying, maybe you have the teacher have everything laid out, what they're gonna do throughout the year.
Right, but they would know their books.
They would
They're
know
gonna
their
know
books,
like
yes.
what materials
Sure.
is the standard, this is what we're gonna learn this year. They're gonna know that. But as things come up, we could internally develop a process that just says that it meets these criteria.
Yes.
We'll send a note home.
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Because it's not to limit what curriculum you have, it's to inform families. And so, like in this case, maybe like sending that email to parents to say, hey, eighth graders are gonna have this particular opportunity. It's when we don't share it with parents that they are upset. And I think we could do a better job as a district, letting parents know outside curriculum, whoever that might be. process.
That's doable.
Good. 10.2, discussion of board materials.
Yeah, so my second thing is, the discipline reports. I know we've talked about it as a board before, getting some sort of discipline report. And I really want to make the argument that that's something that as a board member, I would like. I think it's necessary. I think it's tied to academic performance. It's tied to teachers' ability. It's tied to the success of students. And for example, how many of our students were suspended this year? How many students spend ADR time? How many students are struggling with truancy? Like, I can look at the Illinois report card, but I don't have enough data as a board member. I think that's super important. Not only that, when I talk to other boards that get a discipline report, they're saying things like, they're looking at trends. They know who are the frequent flyers. They know what the alcohol, the drug issues are. And I clearly have 3 high school students and 3 students in the high school, and there's a vaping issue. There is a vaping issue in our high school. So what is the policy? What are we doing with, if you're caught with a vape in a classroom, what's the consequence? What happens at the middle school? What are we doing? I hear bathrooms are closed and locked, but as a board member, this data of discipline is super important. And I think our job is to educate, and this is a piece of it. I've also heard from teachers saying they want to have tighter, more policy and system discipline. So like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know, do we have issues at every school? What is this policy? What are we doing? So I'd really like that to be part of our board packet. I would like it, I think monthly is how we receive the information. I've requested that we receive material more often than once a month, but a discipline report is definitely something that I would like to have a discussion about and be included.
Yeah, I think that, the appropriate time, and President Ryder, if you care to elaborate on the upcoming board retreat meetings, that's when that's determined. The board determines what information, and that was accomplished last May of 21 as a part of that discussion. So, yeah, I think these upcoming meetings will be assist in that as well.
Another place is if whichever board members are on the district leadership team, we review that data every month. And so then if we do that process you guys talked about with whoever's on that team, like we could put it in the packet, but then the board member could talk about what they heard at that meeting as well, because we do exactly what you described. We look at trends, we look at, what's the number, but of that number, how many are repeat offenders? And that's, we talk about names and the numbers and look for basically what does this tell us, and then what do we need to do in the buildings, and then at each building they're having those conversations as well.
And I think because we don't get that information, right? So I've not heard anything about discipline in 2 years. So I think that's an important part of being a board member, to understand what are we doing in regarding discipline, and how do we support teachers? When we look at retention rates of teachers, I wonder if sometimes if we're losing teachers because the classrooms are difficult to manage. And so how do we help teachers? How do we control our retention rate and make sure that we're providing the best environment for kids to learn? And so this is super important to me. We can talk about it in our development classes that are coming up, but for me as an agenda item, I just would like you guys to think about it. I think as a board, I would like us to move forward with more information.
Dr. Hill, remind me, that's discussed in the leadership system, is it not?
Yes.
I came to one of those meetings
Yes.
a few months ago
Yep.
and received more material than I knew what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe the board assignees for leadership systems will want to get up and make a presentation. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. It's like,
I'd be happy to switch. I would like to be on that committee, so I would.
as I said in the email, any trades want to get worked out, that's up to you guys. Anything else on that? Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. Item 11, executive session, none. 12, open session. That's true. Okay, before we adjourn, I want to say that I am tickled, not literally pink, that all board members will be attending the board retreat Thursday. Those are public meetings on the 15th and the 20th. The agenda is out, it's on the website. And It's an opportunity for the board to have a discussion with itself about what the goals of this district should be and how we get there. So anyway, anyone's welcome to attend if you like.
And the question that rose, that, do we report that to the public of what our goals are? Is that something that's coming out? Like,
We
as a
can-
result of-
absolutely, yeah.
So that's embedded in board policy. So it's under section 2, that when the board then determines what those goals for the future will be, then we'll update board policy to reflect those.
But is it gonna be discussed here?
Yes.
Okay. And what meeting is that one? When do we do that? What is it? July?
Well, I think it depends on the conversation we have on the 15th and the 20th, if there's work to do after that. I think we should present once it's complete and we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know when that, I don't know for sure. Okay, any other questions? Last motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Ashley Overton, second, Eric Weaver.
Larson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Hedges? Armstrong?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Everybody have a good evening.
Yeah.
All the way up.